rain that we've gotten and the break in the heat that we will get. Thank you for all the blessings that that this district has, and thank you for letting all of us be here to do the work of the district and for those that have trusted us to do that work. We ask that you watch over us and help us as we work through the meeting to make the decisions that further your kingdom. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Okay, we have any visitors signed up to speak. Item number 4, consideration of possible appointment of school board position number 7. So what we do is open nominations and take nominations for the position, close nominations, and vote. So with that, I would open nominations for position 7 for the appointment of, and as I told y'all before, I was going to nominate Deidre Neville for that position.
I'll second.
Is there any other nominations? If there are no nominations, we'll close nominations. I don't know that there's a need to take a vote, but we'll go ahead and, yeah, we can close nominations. Those in favor of appointing Deidre to position 7, raise your hand. Motion carries 4-0. Deidre, you can come up. I know you're not prepared necessarily.
Miss Botch is going to swear you in.
Deidre Neville, do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully execute the duties of the office of the Board of Trustees, position 7 at Iola ISD, and will you be of best ability to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States and of this state, so help you God?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, that was for item 5, consent agenda, and I know we had a few questions.
There.
Questions were
Good.
Mr. Pointer had some questions. The reason you have 2 emails in front of you, I was worried that you guys wouldn't have an opportunity to see the email response before we met, so I just wanted to print it out so you could see it and see the questions and the answers. And the second one, there was just a specific answer that I referred to in the previous email. But Mr. Pointer said his questions had been answered, and that's all I received.
I move to present the consent agenda as presented. A second by Tammy. Those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 5-0. Think of the numbers. Okay, number 6, campus administrative reports.
Ms. Ajewski, ladies first as always.
Okay. Follow Ms. Hurst's very specific instructions.
That's right. Still trying to work out our filming.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and report on the goal progress measures for the board goals for reading and math. Oh, or is that later?
That's a separate agenda item.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you have anything else in your report.
I mean, I could talk, but really what I wanted to say is thank you, board, for just an amazing year last year. I think overall, when we look back at everything, it was hard and it was trying, and all of us faced things we didn't know we were going to face in education. And I think we were just really blessed to get to come all year long. And thank y'all for the support as we navigated through that. I really appreciate that. No, I didn't prepare anything else. I thought this was going to be what I did. So I'll have lots of stuff at the next meeting, I promise. But I'll see you all in a little bit, I guess.
Thank you, Mrs. Ajewski.
All right. I would also like to second that notion. You guys did an amazing job this year. It was a very challenging year for everybody, and I thank you all for the support for the things that we get to do at the high school as well. Even though school is out, we still have a lot kind of going on. Gym floor, we are progressing. They haven't started the actual floor part, but they are taking apart the whole bleachers. So that is probably about 50 to 60% done. I guess they're taking every single piece of that apart and refurbishing it somehow. So they're mostly done with the deconstruction part of the bleachers. So I believe there's a new timeline for the floor, but it shouldn't be too far off from where the bid started. The girls volleyball is having summer league. 8th grade right now is actually in first place. They're doing really well. Miss wanted to make sure that I conveyed that to you guys. 7th grade in that same league is in 4th place. So a year younger, still in the same league as the 8th grade, but they're both doing really, really well. So she's very excited with how they're doing. Our drum majors are going to camp this week. They're there right now at SFA, and they will be competing on Thursday, I believe from about 1 to 4. So Mr. Santos and I will be going out to kind of monitor that and support those drum majors in that. Cheers at camp right now in College Station. Hopefully we'll be able to go out and kind of support them as well, but I don't know if they're allowing anybody to come outside people to come to the camp. And then also Coach Reed had his summer league. They did really well. They were 3-3 this summer, so we have a lot of great things to go on at the high school. Thank you.
Can I ask a few questions?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
On the floor, have we set up a time to make sure that that roof is handled before the floor is in?
The roof has been repaired.
It has?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if we have questions about across the street, would he be able to answer them, or?
Parking lot?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Dave would know that. You
Okay.
can ask, I might know it. But
I mean, are they completely finished over there? Because I saw there was still some like rut kind of in there.
No, they have to come back and repair that.
Okay.
So, and I think why that occurred, those were the areas that were repaired, and then they didn't get the final coat on it before we got more rain, so they tore up again. But you've noticed how the rest of the parking lot is a fresh black and painted lines. They'll come back and repair those patches again, and then they'll get the final coat on it so the water doesn't seep in. So,
That's a question.
The fresh coat looks nice.
yes, it
does.
looks
And
good,
it's trying to
looks
do
good.
so.
And I only have one thing, board members, and that's just as we're talking about our new gym floor, I put in your board packet the results of the floor survey. Option 1 was the floor that had the bulldog in the center, and option 2 was the one that had the state of Texas outline with the IHS in it. So you can see option 2 had almost 77% of the votes, and that's the artwork we've told the floor manufacturer to go with. If you want, at some point in time, we actually have the floor samples here. So the main court, most of the court will be this light color here, and then the lanes will be the darker, and then we have the maroon and the black and white that will be going. So I brought those in if you want to look at it before you leave. But that's all I have.
Okay. Item number 7, consideration of TASB localized policy update 117.
As you can see, Update 117 covered lots of areas that range from accountability to board members to purchasing. I think there were 6 items in there about construction, special ed, all the way to wellness and health services. As usual, though, I would ask that the board approve the add, revise, or delete policies according to the TASB Policy Manual Update 117.
So there was one in here that said that it was a optional change on the emergency replacement kind of the purchasing and acquisition at the bottom of the first page, CH local purchasing and acquisition. It talks about that we would be delegating authority to the superintendent to contract for replacement, construction, or repair of equipment or facilities in the event of a catastrophe, emergency, or natural disaster affecting the district, if that construction or repair was necessary for the health and safety of the districts or staff. So my question there is, I mean, we've operated basically 4 school years under a declaration of emergency, from the hurricane to COVID to the freezes. And I'm not so much concerned about this administration doing anything that construction-wise without, going beyond what the board says, but, policies for future, and I just, I don't know that I like the idea of the board getting a report of construction instead of authorizing construction. Because everything can boil down to health and safety. So, I mean, that's the concern that I have with that one that says that it is,
At the bottom of the first, is that on one?
yeah, where it says CH local purchasing and acquisition.
It's local.
Mm-hmm.
The very bottom.
Yes, the very bottom. It says that that we would delegate authority to the superintendent to contract for the replacement, construction, or repair of equipment or facilities in the event of a catastrophe, emergency, natural disaster affecting the district. Emergency replacement, construction, or repair is necessary for the health, safety of the district students and staff. The superintendent must report to the board any contracts made under the delegated authority at the next regular meeting. I can understand repairs, but this is construction. So, I mean, I don't think Mr. Martindale would do that, but like I said.
Talking about construction of a temporary facility until you can get your other, I mean.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that.
It's pretty encompassing.
I mean, this could be, it could be, upgrading ventilation systems in the school because, they think it's necessary. And like you've told us how expensive those are. It could be hundreds of thousands of dollars that, is not necessarily budgeted, because it's necessary for the health and safety. Now, this one is purely optional. So, I mean, I think that we look at policy for future where we don't know the situation, not for what we've got now.
Well, listen, now what's your cap on, is it like 50,000?
We moved it to 25, from 15 to 25.
15 to 25, okay, so we've got that safety net somewhat already in place.
But this doesn't say that. This just basically overrides that, doesn't it?
Let me finish.
Okay.
But, two, I mean, this isn't a disaster situation. I mean.
I think you carry these because you have some districts that are hit by tornadoes. That would be the most catastrophic thing for your facilities.
Right.
And so immediately that district would need to start repairing those buildings. But obviously during that time, you're going to find other places for kids to go to school.
Right.
Even you might use local churches to host classrooms. It doesn't matter to me if you guys want to change this or not. Now, the deal is we already have something in policy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't like the wording of update 117, what we need to do is bring to the board what's currently in our language. So do we want to table update 117 until next board meeting? And I can bring the current language with me as well? Because typically we just accept these updates because TASB is in the business of recommending best practices to districts.
That would be fine with me because it would be interesting to hear, what that is, because this does say that they're recommending a new provision of delegated authority. So if there is something already, it wouldn't hurt to know what that is.
Where do
Yeah.
you see optional on that?
If
On
it's
the
local,
next
it's
page.
optional. You don't have to do it at the
The next page, the third paragraph from the top is bolded, and it says the recommended delegation provision is optional. Please read carefully the new text to ensure it aligns with the district's practices and contact the district's policy consultant if it doesn't wish to add this provision. I mean, all the other provisions seem fine.
We'll just table it and come back to it. Number 8 then, consideration of called meetings.
So you guys know that we have to have 2 board meetings in August, one so that we set a proposed tax rate, then we publish that in a local paper for 10 I believe, work days. And then we come back, have a public hearing, so that the notice has been out there and anyone in the community that wants to speak towards the proposed tax rate has the opportunity to do so. So I'm just suggesting these dates, August 5th, to set the proposed tax rate, and then coming back on August 26th to adopt that tax rate and adopt our budget. And then also in here, I throw in a budget workshop on August 2nd, so we can have all of those conversations we need to have before we set that proposed tax rate. So if those dates would work with you guys, that's what I'm proposing.
And then a public hearing on, right before our board meeting on the 26th, right?
Yes, that is correct.
I'll move to propose to call meetings as presented.
Second.
Those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 6-0. Item number 9, consideration of our banking depository bid.
5-0. Should be 5-0, right?
5-0.
5-0. Yeah. 5-0.
So I don't remember the exact timeline. I don't know if it's annually or every other year we have to go out for consideration of bank depository bids. We received 2 back, one's from Wells Fargo, who we're with currently, and the other was Vera Bank. And Ms. Tim asked if we could go with the Wells Fargo bid, and so that's what I'm asking the board to approve.
Make a motion to approve Wells Fargo.
I'll second. Motion is second, is open for discussion. Any discussion on the depository? Those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, where are we at? 10. Consideration of Brazos Valley Regional Day School Program for the Deaf Shared Services Agreement.
So this is a shared service agreement similar to one we have with Browns County Special Ed Co-op. Obviously, though, it's with Brazos Valley Regional Day School Program for deaf shared services. We have 2 or 3 students over the last couple of years that have been serviced through this program. As you've seen, as you look at the shared service agreement, there's 31 schools in this shared service. So deaf ed programs are very hard to come by. And in this shared service agreement, I believe it's Brian that is the fiscal agent. I just recommend that the board approve the shared service agreement as presented.
You know what that's going to cost us?
It doesn't cost us anything. That second email that I placed at your seat, so they get our federal or state deaf ed funds go directly to them, and then anything above that is billed to the Grimes County Co-op. So the fee we pay to Grimes County Special Ed Co-op covers these other services if they're more than the state deaf ed funds that they receive, that the school receives.
Okay, need a motion on item number 10.
I'll move that we accept.
Okay, motion, I'll second. Open for discussion. Is there any discussion? No discussion. Those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 11, creation of HB3 goals.
All right, Mr. Juicy, you're up.
It's your turn.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to start with our reading goals. That's progress measure 1 for goal 1. Our overall goal was to monitor 3rd grade reading STAR test on meets and above. So that's where we see, and I just kind of compared it to what our benchmarks were. As far as the meets category and above, our goal was 51%, and on 3rd grade STAR, meets and above it was 54%. So we beat our goal there. For our and then as a way to progress monitor that big goal, we really wanted to focus on K through 2 reading goals as well. So reading levels for K through 2, our goal was 83%. We ended with 87%. So beat our goal there. Another K through 2 goal we had was for nonsense word fluency. That's basically their phonemic awareness, their phonological awareness. everything that goes into looking at words that aren't real words, nonsense words, and using what they know about letters and sounds and rules and everything, and reading those words. And our goal was 76%, and we ended on 80%. And then we also monitored pre-K for reading readiness. The goal was 93%, and we ended at 95%. Also, board there is, at the very bottom, there is some additional data that you requested for the composite scores for M-Class, which is how we monitor our K-2 data for all those reading indicators.
I have
It's
a
broken down by
question.
grade level. Yes, ma'am.
If you don't mind. Could you kind of tell me, like, what you use for the data K-2, like the nonsense word fluency, like, what are you using? Because I know that their verbiage is different for M-Class, according to what you have here, it's different. So what did you use for that?
That's straight from M-Class. That's one of the assessments
Right.
from that.
But it says approaches. Under there it says approaches and above.
Yeah, so there's 4 categories like on STAR. And so just so the language was consistent across, I believe the language was below something that corresponds with approaches. I can't remember what it is.
Well, for what I read, M-Class was well below, at, and above. So I'm asking what you used here. Which one of these did you use
For
here?
approaches and above, we used the second to last category like STAR, so that was below, which would be approaches on STAR.
But when we adopted these, we said at or above. So at to me means meeting the benchmark. When we adopted these, it wasn't approaching. These goals were not approaching.
Okay, I'll go back and look.
Because I'd like to know what they are. And the same thing for the reading, like what did you use for on level for reading?
Fontes and Pinnell reading levels.
I know, but what did you look at the report cards for M, for they met the level? Or is it P progressing, or what did you use there?
We use the scale that comes with the Fontes and Pinnell that tells us what grade level range they're on for beginning, middle, and end of the year. So we went with the end of the year recommendations from the program we use.
So does that mean if they were at that grade level that they're in?
Yes, they're on level. So
Yeah.
there wasn't like 3 different categories for that, or 4 different categories like with STAR and M-Class. There was just 2, either they're on level or they're below level, or above, so there was 3. But we did on level and above.
So you had to look at every student to see if they were at that level.
Yes, ma'am.
Whereas the report cards would kind of tell that too to the parents, like if it's an M, or, because I'm
Yes.
assuming you picked the same levels. Okay, so that says own level. So I guess my thing is this, that there's a huge discrepancy here between what they're showing on level here and what we're showing for the composite score with the kids for M-Class. There's a huge discrepancy here as far as level, being able to read in here for the composite score.
Yes, so for some of these, reading comprehension for M-Class is not figured in until you get to like 2nd grade, or it's like where it's really put in there, called the Maze assessment. All the other ones, we only did the assessments that were required in M-Class, which is only about reading readiness, phonological awareness, and all of those components of reading, except for the comprehension that wasn't required in M-Class through the state, because we already did a reading.
But whatever you did, this is it.
Yes.
Whatever you did, this is it.
Yes.
And so, everything I read says that the composite score is the best overall estimate of the student's reading proficiency. In other words, the composite score is going to tell you like where these kids are. And so I'm just saying, and then the same thing is approaches for pre-K, it says approaches. So are you using an approach, or are you using an own level assessment?
It was based, I gotta go back and look at the exact ones, I don't have it in front of me, but it was just based on how many categories there were. So I believe that there were, I think 4 on those as well. So I'll have to go back and look exactly what the categories were.
Right. And the same thing for when you get to math, the same thing. It says approaches under there, and so I'm wondering the same thing for math.
Mm-hmm. That's how it is. We use, so the K-2 came from their report cards and their checklist. Were they meeting it? Were they approaching standards? Were they progressing towards standards? Were they above standards? So that's how I lumped it all in. I tried to make it as close to what we were monitoring our overall goal, which had approaches, meets, and masters, and did not meet. So I was trying to get it as close to that as possible to make it a little more accurate.
Well, I guess we'll know next year, but just looking at these, and here's my thing. The data that we have here doesn't particularly go along with the STAR results. So my question is what we're using for assessment not good enough, or what? Because, and I guess that because these are not the kids that took the test, we'll know next year how they do. But if you're showing me that these kids have 100% here and 82% here and 82% here, meeting, which it should be meeting and not approaches, that's why I'm asking if it was approaches, because there's a big difference here. And our goal is for meets. So to see where the kids are going to be for the test, we need to know how they're progressing.
Right, and that's what I had recommended was the third grade was meets and above, because that's going to be that category. Because with STAR, they're always looking to up the ante on it. They're always raising the passing score, what they have to get. So they're always looking at that meets as the big one that they look at. And so, but with the other one, since we were progress monitoring, we wanted to make sure that we wanted to monitor all of them, not just the ones that were in that middle category, make sure we're not losing any either.
Well, if they're meeting, they're definitely passing.
Right.
So, I mean, but since that is what House Bill 3 is a lot of it's about, it's dumping all this money into improving the kids that are at meeting grade level. I mean, to me, that's what we need. We need the results that says meets, and that's what we adopted. That's what our goals say, at and above.
Okay.
It doesn't say anything about approaches.
And, well, whenever we first met as a group, as a team, an admin team, that's what I'd originally had, was meets and above. And then we went over it together, and you had asked specifically, well, we want to look at the ones that were approaches. Like, what about K through 2? Those ones, we just don't want the ones that are above. We want the ones that, you know, pass and then some. So that's why I went back and I rewrote it to include approaches and not just meets for the progress monitoring goals. That's why I went and changed it.
So you have the actual goal is meets and above, and then the progress measures you have as approaches and above.
And that doesn't give us a true picture of whether they're going to be at meets.
I mean, I just tried to give you what you had asked whenever we met and went over them, that you didn't want it to be meets, you wanted it to be approaches. So I went and changed it.
I don't recall ever saying I do recall saying that we want to make sure for our goals that we want to increase the number that are approaching. But the whole thing is on the STAR test, if you're meeting, you're definitely passing. So that includes them anyway.
So, I mean, I don't know how the board, if y'all wanted to change wording, how that even goes.
I don't know about wording, I want results. In other words, if you're telling us that these are the approaching, this is the approaching data, I want the meets data, or met, or whatever that's what we adopted. That's what it says on our goals, at and above, that we adopted.
How difficult would it be to just have one on top of the other, on the same part?
I give you all of it, that's fine.
I mean, that way there's just no question.
Works for me.
Then you don't have to go back and mess with it again.
Okay. So for math, so reading, we did really well, beat all of our goals. That's exciting. The teachers were excited about that when I let them know. Math, we know that math was a little bit harder across the whole district, and I don't know if that was because of them missing those building blocks the last part of their year, last or 2 years ago, I guess, whenever COVID hit. Or what, but we definitely saw some trends. So for third grade, our goal was set at 73% meets and above, and we ended with STAR at 54%, so definitely well below our goal, and it even dropped off from the spring benchmark. And the same kind of trend we saw with K through 2 algebraic reasoning. Even though we beat our goal was 75%, we ended at 82%. You see how it kind of dropped off from 86% mid-year. And then again, in numbers and operations that we were monitoring, our goal was 58%. We ended the year at 82%. And there's still that drop off from mid-year, how it went down. So we're going to be breaking down some data. Ms. Brown's going to help me review with the math teachers and find out what they saw mid-year to end of the year and find out what was going on there, because it was kind of the same trends. And then pre-K, their math goal was 93%, and they were at 100% for math readiness.
So I guess that really is the question that I have on this, because when I look at this, if we attribute it to, you know, the COVID slide, then I would think that we would kind of not have had that spike and then down, you know.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. We've got to really go back and dig through those tests and find out what was so different from what the kids tested on in STAR versus that middle of the year spring benchmark that TEA gave us. But it's just interesting to see the same kind of trend in all three of our measures that we had.
So do you feel like you'll the next time you present on these goals, you'll be able to give us some results of digging into that data?
Absolutely.
And maybe some working hypotheses there?
Yes, for sure.
When is that, what, the beginning of the year assessments at the next one?
Just the beginning of the year assessments, yes.
Well, yes.
It might be a little before.
But Chris, in those middle of the year that,
No.
I think you got the spring benchmark, that was state-given tests that we assessed, right?
Yes.
Like, that was.
State
Yes.
produced, state
Stat,
written.
yes,
That's
right,
right.
right.
Yeah, that was new for us. We had just kind of played with it a little bit with a couple grade levels a few years ago, didn't like it, they redid it, that we're going online, we might as well do the benchmarks online, see what it's all about. We don't 100% know how we felt about them just yet. We still have to look through everything and see.
Do you think that the kids knew that the test wasn't real at the end of the year?
I hope not. I don't think any of our teachers told them that, because to them and to the teachers it mattered. It may not have counted, but to the kids it counted. I didn't see any, overall, I didn't see any kind of difference between how they are in the spring every year about to take it to how they were last year, which was great.
I'll be interested to see what y'all come up with on what you think might have caused that.
Yeah, let's see. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ajewski.
So I'm going to go over our CCMR goals, the goals that the board kind of adjusted this year. Our overall progress measure 1 would be industry-based certifications. The percentage that we wanted to increase from 9.5% to 25%. FERD did a great job this year of getting all those seniors that were in those classes to take that certification. So we were able to get up to 34% in that. So that's 11 out of the 32 graduates. Moving forward, we'll be able to continue to grow that as well, I believe, with the extra courses that we're including next year and following. Our progress measure 2, the TSI criteria, that's one of the ones that we're still working on. We were not able to, that's the one that states that graduates will pass both the math and the reading criteria. We still did much better. We went from 0% in September to 19% in March to 28% in June, which some of our seniors still have a chance to finish that and complete that, so that number will continue to rise. But next year we are going to try to make sure that we are able to test those, I believe it's juniors, once they finish Algebra 2, they'll be able to take the TSI math. So we're not going to wait until they're seniors to take that math part, which will help our scores. When our students are out of that math for so long, sometimes it's hard to go back and know how to do that as well. So we believe that will significantly help our scores moving forward to meet that goal of 40%. We've completed our first industry-based certificates for all eligible seniors. We administered a new redesigned TSI A2 in May for willing seniors And for dual credit students, we did not get a chance to administer the TSIA math at the end of Algebra 2 because of the new TSI took longer than anticipated. So we're going to plan for that better next year, just to make sure that we can incorporate that for those Algebra 2 students. And so we'll incorporate this into our upper level math courses next year. So that is our plan for moving forward for meeting that goal for having the TSI, both math and reading, passed by our seniors. For our overall goal, we were able to meet our yearly goal. The yearly goal this year was 71%, and so we were able to come about with 75% of our seniors meeting that. So we are overall on track for meeting the goals moving forward next year and this year.
Can I ask one thing?
Yes, sir.
On the TSIA 2 math, when you say it took longer than anticipated, was that the implementation of that or the actual test itself, or what was longer than you anticipated?
I think it was the implementation of it, getting those students that were already kind of finishing Algebra 2 over into taking the test. We had a lot of our different courses and stuff finishing at the same time that those students were kind of taking that exam, and so it just didn't line up as well. So we're going to make sure that we line those up.
Finishing.
We've had a few of those kids that just finished Algebra 2 actually come up over the summer and take the math TSIA 2.
Yes, sir.
And the ones that have done it have passed.
Yes, sir.
So
So this should be updated. I
Our
can get you.
hope of getting it to them at the end of Algebra 2 instead of 2 years down the road, it seems to be paying off so far.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Fowler.
Yes, sir.
Item number 12, consideration of canceling the July board meeting.
Just asking the board to consider canceling the July 19th board meeting. We'll have 3 meetings in August to make up for that, and it will give everyone an opportunity to have a summer vacation.
Do you need a motion on that?
Yeah.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Tammy, I'll second. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 13, personnel.
So you can see our principal's been busy trying to fill all their positions. We have some employment there. The recommendations that were emailed to me is what I've started putting in your board packets. We're hiring Miss Tracy Miller from Caldwell to teach high school ELA. Coach Mendez from Bryan ISD, I believe he will be he's head softball, cross country, and criminal justice, as we've talked, that we're adding that to our CTE career pathway. Coach Mayorka is also from Caldwell. We all know Miss Sophie Teston. She's going to be filling the role of our reading interventionist at the secondary. And then we had in there Miss Caitlin Falcon, who we had offered and she had accepted, but she's recently called back and rescinded. So you can mark that one off your list. And the resignations are listed in there. And then Ms. Sajewski had a recommendation. I know that you guys gave me the hiring authority over the summer months. And I told you then that administrative positions I would still be bringing to you. So Ms. Sajewski has a recommendation for her campus at this time.
So we had, hold on, I'll get my, a second.
You don't want Ms. Hurst.
I don't want her fussing. Okay, so we had listed it as counselor position, and I had listed it as the kind of the same requirements as teacher, where currently working on certification, working in a counseling program. I had to go back and add to that position counselor/student success coordinator to account for in case we wanted to hire someone who was not certified yet, but working on her certification, working in that program, so that it would match. So we reposted it, left it for another 10 days. We had only 2 people interested. One of them, Ms. Pessel, She's been a teacher for 12 years. She's worked in Iola for 10 of those at both campuses. Last year, she did reading intervention and also dyslexia intervention. She also offered counseling and social emotional support to our elementary students under the guidance of Ms. Harris, who's the high school counselor. And she started the year last year enrolled in a master's program at Lamar, and she's taking her counseling certification test in July. Because she's not certified yet, she wouldn't get necessarily counselor status, and she would still be working under a mentor. So that's why it's listed as student success coordinator position, just in case whoever we wanted to hire wasn't certified yet, that would be the title. And so what that means is basically it'd be like a teacher contract. And then once she passes that test, we can rework the contract to official counselor, where she would work 2 weeks before school starts and 2 weeks after it ends. And since we have.
So the only way you're needing action on tonight is C.
Yes, sir. Just ask that the board approve hiring Lindy Pessel, a student success coordinator. Then she takes her test next month, her counseling certification test. Provided she passes that, then she would be the elementary counselor. And that's when her compensation would take place as a counselor, which is a small, I say small, a counselor's stipend, and then she would get her extra days in her contract. But for now, just to hire her as a student success coordinator, which would be a regular teacher contract she's already under. So the status would change when she passes her test.
She's been successful in that, doing the role that she was this past year, is what I've heard.
Yes, very. I think that was going to be a big difference. The fact that she already has those established positive relationships with all the staff and the students. Everybody knows her, the students know her, they're comfortable with her. It just seemed like a natural flow into that role.
I'll move that we hire her as the student success coordinator position.
I second it.
Motion by Alec, second by Tammy, open for discussion. Discussion, those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 5-0.
Before we move on, can I just ask how many other positions we have still left open?
Music / assistant band. Now reading intervention for elementary. 2nd grade math and 6th grade English language arts for me.
Secondary social studies, math intervention, basketball coach, assistant coach. Might be 3. Minus the band director.
Split between the two of them.
2, yeah.
Yes,
She
sir.
said music / band. Okay, thank you.
I think that's it. Item number 15, I move to adjourn.
I'll second.